However, I don't have a picture.
Oh, okay.
I can see the performer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, a polite crowd. Everybody's saying good afternoon back to me. Thank you. Well, it's a really nice day for some great music, so we're going to get started in just a few minutes. First of all, thank you to the Friends of the Library. They sponsor our Arts Alive concerts all year long, so we're always very grateful for that. I need to let you know that next month's concert is on May 21st, Sunday at 2 p.m. And it's the Buffalo Grove Encore Singers. They've been here before. They're a choral group. There's about 24 of them, give or take. And they always give a great performance. This time they'll be doing songs from the movies. So I think that'll be a fun afternoon on the 21st. Yeah. Coming up a little sooner than that, this Thursday, the 6th, at 6:30, we have a program called, sorry, frog in my throat. I'm glad I'm not singing. It's called, it's Art Hidden in Plain Sight. It's about these mysterious lakefront carvings that extend from the Indiana border up through Chicagoland areas, a lakefront. And the rock carvings, some go back 100 years, most are anonymous, and they go from everything to initials to mythic creatures and landscapes. So I think that'll be very interesting. One more note, on the 12th, which is a Wednesday, a little bit earlier start time, 6 o'clock. We have, this will be good, Lizzie Borden, which the presenter is calling the original CSI, because even though she was arrested, Lizzie was acquitted for murdering her parents. So he's going to come with some evidence, some photographs, some memorabilia, and we might really discover who killed Lizzie Borden's parents. Maybe it was Lizzie, maybe not. Anyway, I think that'll be fun. But now, today, when it gets started, like I said, we have returning to us Mark Dvorak. He has been with us many times, but not since before the pandemic, so it's so great to have him here, live, in person, with his great music. He performs the classic American folk songs, as well as he'll do some standards from the American Songbook. And he likes to drop in a few stories about growing up in the Chicagoland area and when he was a student at the Old Town School of Folk Music. And it's just going to be a fun afternoon, so please welcome Mark Dvorak.
As I went walking my ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and I rambled, I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands, of her diamond desert, while all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Let's sing together now. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. One bright Sunday morning, in the shadow of the steeple by the relief office, I saw the people. They stood there hungry, and I stood there wondering if this land was made for you and me. There was a big high wall there, and it tried to stop me, and on that sign it said private property, but on the other side it didn't say nothing. That sign was made for you and me. Try it in harmony now. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Now the sun comes shining as I was strolling, the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting, the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living will ever stop me. I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living will make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. One more time now. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. I wonder if any of you remember that beautiful chorus. Some of you, yeah? I know how old you are. Let's try it together now. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. When I was a young man, I'd never been kissed. I got to thinking over what I had missed. I got me a girl, I kissed her, and then, oh Lord, I kissed her again. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Let me hear you sing. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. I asked her to marry, to be my sweet wife. We could be so happy all of our lives. I begged and I pleaded like a natural man, and then, oh Lord, she gave me her hand. Oh, kisses sweeter than than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Well, I worked mighty hard, so did my wife, working hand in hand. We made a good life with corn in the fields and wheat in the bin. I was, oh Lord, father of twins. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Our children numbered just about 4. They all had sweethearts knocking at the door. They all got married, they didn't hesitate. I was, oh Lord, grandfather of 8. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Now we are old and ready to go. We get to thinking what happened a long time ago. Had a lot of kids, trouble and pain, but oh Lord, we do it again. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, kisses sweeter than wine. Kisses sweeter than wine. Thank you so much for coming out today. Can you hear everything all right? Even in the back, are you good? All right, thank you. And so I'm Mark, and we've got all kinds of different songs for you this afternoon. And this next one is one I remembered my grandma used to sing. She was a Cunningham, she was Irish. And one of my memories of her was she was always singing on car rides and in family gatherings, and she'd try to get her 4 grandsons, come on everybody, let's have a sing-along. And we bought that till I was about 9. When one of my brothers brought home a Led Zeppelin record. It was over. And, but I still remember when my brothers and I got old enough to begin learning our own music, guitar and later the banjo, those old songs that Grandma sang over and over and over again were among the first we raced each other to try to learn, including this one. I remember she sang this on a car ride one day, and she was in the front seat, and she sat kind of sideways so she could sing to us all 4 squeezed into the back seat of the station wagon. I think it was 56 Chevrolet. Anyway, it starts out kind of slow. Many, many years ago when I was 23, I was married to a widow who was pretty as could be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red. My father fell in love with her, soon these two were wed. This made my dad my son-in-law, and it changed my very life, 'cause my daughter was my mother, for she was my father's wife. To complicate the matter, even though it brought me joy, I soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. This little baby then became a brother-in-law to Dad, and so became my uncle, though it made me very sad. Oh, if he were my uncle, then it also made him brother of the widow's grown-up daughter, who of course is my stepmother. Everybody join right in. My father's wife then had a son, which kept him on the run. He became my grandchild, 'cause he was my daughter's son. My wife is now my mother's mother, and it makes me blue. For although she is my wife, she's my grandmother. mother too. Now if my wife is my grandmother, then I'm her grandchild. Every time I think of it, it nearly drives me wild. Now I have become the strangest case you ever saw. As husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. It seems funny, I know, but it really is so. Oh, I'm my own grandpa. And there we were, all squeezed into the '56 Chevrolet station wagon, and Grandma finished her songs just before we got to the grocery store. And my brother asked her, he says, "Grandma, how do you remember all those words?" And she turned around and said, "How do you know I did?" Anyways, here's a real old one now, and I'm old enough now to remember the days when every November the Sears Roebuck Christmas catalog would come in the mail, and my mother gave each of my brothers and I a different colored pen, and we were allowed to circle 3 toys that we wanted Santa Claus to bring us for Christmas morning. Of course, in about a week's time, we had half the catalog circled. Because one year, we each drew a colored ring around a photograph of a record player. It was a portable model, so big, turntable on the top and a speaker in the front, and then the lid flipped up like so. There was another speaker right in the lid, which you could detach, set across the room, and connect with a wire. They used to call that hi-fi. And we thought it was pretty cool, and I asked my mom, I said, "Do you think Santa Claus would really bring something like that for Christmas morning?" And she said a really neat thing. She said, "Listen, mister, there's just one thing you can do. You write your letter, you put it in the mail, and you wait and see what happens on Christmas morning." And that's what we did. And the long, long wait began. And finally, Christmas morning came. And finally, under the tree, there was this big box with all 4 of our names on the tag. And finally, the time came to open presents. And when the time came, we raced into the front room and ripped away the ribbon and the paper, opened the box, and there it was. Santa Claus had brought us the identical model record player that we had picked out of the Sears catalog. The funny part was Santa Claus also brought all of my mother's favorite records. But back in those days, Grandma and Grandpa lived right across the street from us, 3628 South Central Avenue in Cicero, Illinois. And Grandpa knew what to do. He always knew what to do. He dashed back home, and when he came back, he had a cardboard box in each arm. Each cardboard box contained a stack of these old, scratchy 78 records. And we spent all of Christmas morning listening to this old music that we had not heard before. Do you remember a guy named Frankie Lane?
Yeah.
Oh, we love Frankie Lane. My heart goes where the wild goose goes. And we heard Ella Fitzgerald for the very first time that Christmas morning. And the grown-ups kept playing the records by a guy named Spike Jones. But our very favorite of all these records was when we dropped a needle on a disc whose label read, "Sons of the Pioneer." These were real cowboys, we thought. Singing about the Old West, I'll never, ever forget how it sounded. Pretty soon, underneath all those scratches, you hear the sons get their guitar and a good cowboy rhythm, and all at once, they begin to sing in perfect harmony. I'm a roving cowboy, beneath the prairie moon, I ride alone and sing a tune. See them tumbling down, pledging their love to the ground. Lonely but free I'll be found, drifting along with the tumble and tumbleweed. Cares of the past are behind, nowhere to go but I'll find just where the trail may wind, drifting along with the tumble and tumbleweed. I know when day is done, there's a new one born at dawn. I'll keep rolling along, deep in my heart is a song. Here on the trail I belong, drifting along with the tumble and tumbleweed, drifting along with the tumble and tumbleweed, drifting along with the tumble and tumbleweed. When I got a little bit older, and we used to watch this show on television called The Andy Griffith Show. It's still on, and it was in reruns then. But one of our favorite episodes was the one where they had the bluegrass band in there, and they sang this next song. You can help me out. It goes, "You get a line, I'll get a pole, honey." Thank you. You get a line, I'll get a pole, babe. You get a line, I'll get a pole. We'll go down to the crawdad hole, honey, oh baby mine. We thought that was about the silliest song we'd ever heard. Of course, when I look back on that day, I realized we didn't know what a crawdad was exactly. We grew up in the city. We knew what rats were, but we didn't know what a crawdad was. And as it turns out, it's kind of a neat song because it tells the story of an African-American man in the South long ago looking to get something to eat. Pretty serious subject. And what I learned was the story came right from somewhere in the South, but the melody came from England. So in a way, it's a perfect marriage of the two cultures, the Anglo-British, and Irish, and Scottish, and the African-American. Let's sing it again. You get a line, I'll get a pole, honey. You get a line, I'll get a pole, babe. You get a line, I'll get a pole. We'll go down to the crawdad hole, honey, oh baby mine. Oh, yonder come a man with a sack on his back, honey. Yonder come a man with a sack on his back, babe. Yonder come a man with a sack on his back. He's got all the crawdads he can't pack, honey, oh baby mine. One more time. You get a line, I'll get a pole, honey. Oh, you get a line, I'll get a pole, babe. You get a line, I'll get a pole. We'll go down to the crawdad hole, honey, oh baby mine. Well, it wasn't too long after that summer, I wanted to learn the guitar. And and I had a friend whose older brother already played, and so we kind of learned our first chords from him, and he was a neat guy. He was always playing us different records of people he thought we should hear. And he played us Bessie Smith, a blues singer, and all kinds of things. And one day he put on a Woody Guthrie record, played through the entire record, and he asked me what I thought. And I said, well, he sounds to me like just another Bob Dylan imitator. Here's what Woody sang on that record. Oh, Pittsburgh town's a smoky old town, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh town's a smoky old town, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh town's a smoky old town, all the way from McKeesport down in Pittsburgh. Lord God, in Pittsburgh. All I do is cough and choke in Pittsburgh. All I do is cough and choke in Pittsburgh. All I do is cough and choke from the iron filings and the sulfur smoke in Pittsburgh. Lord God, in Pittsburgh. From the Allegheny to the Ohio in Pittsburgh. From the Allegheny to the Ohio in Pittsburgh. From the Allegheny to the Ohio, they're joining up with the CIO in Pittsburgh. Lord God, in Pittsburgh. And the record ended, and I thought, hey, wait a minute, that's the Crawdad Hole with brand new words. And as it turned out, I read the liner notes from that particular LP, and they said exactly where Woody got the melody. He got it from the Crawdad Hole. Woody knew a good melody when he heard one, but he also knew the union workers, the steel workers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania didn't care anything about crawdads either, so he wrote them a new song to sing at their convention. And that started me on a long, long journey of trying to figure out what a folk song really is, and how they always evolve and adapt themselves to new situations, and people change them to express something about their personal lives too. So I wound up taking a train all the way into the city and figured out with my friend how to ride on the L trains. I learned what a brown line was after I learned what the green line was and the red line. But we finally found a place called the Old Town School of Folk Music, and this was before internet. So if you wanted to learn about a song, you had to go somewhere where someone had a book about it, or perhaps a recording. And well, I knew where Woody Guthrie got his idea for the song. He got it from the Crawdad Hole. I wanted to know where the guy who made the Crawdad Hole got his idea for the song. This is what I found. Oh, mama, don't allow no music playing round here. Oh, mama, don't allow no music playing round here. We don't care what mama don't allow, we're gonna play our music anyhow. Mama, don't allow no music playing round here. Friends, I was still curious. I wanted to know where the guy who made Mama Don't Allow got his idea for the song. And I think I found the answer in my own backyard. It's a song that I remember my grandpa used to sing to us when we were little children. And maybe you have a similar memory. Froggy went a-courtin' and he did ride, Oh, Froggy went a-courtin' and he did ride, Oh, Froggy went a-courtin', he did ride with a sword and a pistol by his side, He went up to Miss Mousie's door in Pittsburgh. He went up to Miss Mousie's door in Pittsburgh. Well, he didn't care what Mama don't allow. He got Miss Mousie anyhow. Honey, oh baby mine. Isn't that fun? Pretty old tune. It's very pretty. A pretty old tune. It's called The Flop-Eared Mule, and it's a dance song, usually played on fiddle and banjo, all through the southern mountains. And now all over the place, right? Here's another one. Let's see if you recall this memory, this melody. Written around 1910 or so. But yeah, Woody Guthrie took that very melody, just like the Crawdad Bowl, and wrote the famous Union Maid verses. Here it is again. This one I had to go all the way to Ireland to learn. I got the chance to go to Ireland about 20 years ago already. And with a buddy of mine, we toured around the entire little island. We spent 17 days in Ireland, and we also spent an inordinate amount of time in these places they have over there called pubs. And of course, that's where the music happens. And we came to the beautiful city Galway in the west. And we were at a traffic light and I looked out the window and saw a sign in the window of this place. It said, "Session here tonight." And that indicated that the musicians would gather for a jam session. And the tradition is just about anybody's welcome to join in. So we found a place to stay and toddled on over to that pub. And we walked through the front door with our instruments, and it was a very, very tiny place, and we were just the man behind the counter over there, and just three other fellows. Two of them played fiddle, and one played guitar. As it turns out, two of these fellows were from Skokie, Illinois, and the other was from Lake Bluff. This is the tune I had to go all the way to Ireland to learn. Reuben, you can play your banjo all night long. We've been waiting all your life just to hear you play your song. Reuben, you can play your banjo all night long. We'll be sitting around the fire just in case we can play along. When I was just 16, I had a little dream about playing on my daddy's banjo. And when I picked it up and it made a sound, I found I couldn't let the darn thing go. You know it felt so good, I knew that I could play to let the music flow. I would hit those strings just to hear them ring when I played my old banjo. Reuben, you can play your banjo all night long. We've been waiting all your life just to hear you play your song. You know it felt so good, I knew that I could play to let my feelings show. Like my very best friend, staying right till the end to help me when things got slow. It was so hard to put it down, I'd want to make a brand new sound and take it to my friends to show. Oh, I would play so clear, so they would surely hear me play my old banjo. Reuben, you can play your banjo all night long. We've been waiting all your life just to hear you play your song. Reuben, you can play your banjo all night long. And we'll be sitting around the fire just in case we can play, just in case we can sing, just in case we can play along. The last song in that sequence was written by a guy named Bartholomew Bean, who goes by the name of, no, his real name is Ron Morris. He goes by the name Bartholomew Bean, which is a cooler name, I think. He doesn't even play the banjo. But the guy he wrote about. Here's a tune now you don't often hear on the banjo, beautiful old song. As I understand it, it was composed by a hillbilly from New York City. His first name was Irving. His last name was Berlin. I don't think Irving Berlin ever played a banjo, but I could be wrong. We have a very good banjo player sitting right up front here. When banjo players start talking about the banjo, it's like talking two tech guys talking to each other. I have no idea. And so one of the terms in the banjo is, they'd say, well, that one lays out really nicely on the fretboard. You don't have to work too hard at finding the notes. So if Irving Berlin didn't play the banjo, he sure knew somebody someday would try this tune on the banjo, because it lays out right nice on the fretboard. You help me remember it. blue skies do I see. Bluebird, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love, my how they fly like blue days. All of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love, my how they fly like blue days. All of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. When our family moved from Cicero, Illinois, we moved way, way out west, all the way to LaGrange. But it was unincorporated. It was like we were homesteading. And we had a big backyard. And Mother enrolled us in the Advent Christian Church up on the hill. And every Sunday we'd go marching to church in our matching red blazers. And years later, I asked my mom why she enrolled us in an Advent Christian Sunday school, and she said it was the closest church you could walk. If it would have been a Catholic church or Presbyterian, it didn't matter, but you just walked out of the house for a couple hours. The Lord works in mysterious ways. So my brother, who brought the Led Zeppelin record home, he liked anything loud. Still does. And so he had one of those transistor radios you put in your pocket with the white little earplug in it. And so you could see when something was on that he liked, walking up to Sunday school, he'd start walking like this. All of a sudden some folk song comes on the radio program. And he hands me the radio. He goes, "Here, you'll like this." And I thought it was so beautiful. And I don't know if it was Peter, Paul, and Mary or the Kingston Trio. I can't remember. But I remember the harmony just struck me. And there was a message to this song. It was called, "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?" And I thought, oh my goodness, what is... This world's going to be fun to get to know, that things like this are floating around in the air. And some years later, when I was in high school, I used to go to the library and do my work, but invariably I'd find myself in the stacks looking at books about music and books about musicians. And I found a really neat book about folk songs and folk singers. And I leafed through it, and there was a picture of Bob Dylan. And when I was in high school, I wanted to be Bob Dylan. I loved Bob Dylan. And then I read a book about him, and I didn't want to be him anymore. But there was a picture of Bob and his little biography, a short biography, and then a few pages of different songs that he was well known for. And then a couple pages after Bob was a picture of Woody Guthrie. There was his picture and music to where This Land Was Made for You and Me, Dust Bowl Refugee, and a couple of Roland Columbia, I think. And then right on the next page I turned over and there was a picture of Pete Seeger. And the photo was black and white, He was young and skinny, and he had his banjo neck up in the air, his chin up in the sky, and there were the words to that song I remember hearing and kept in my heart all these years. So I quickly got my biology notebook and wrote down every word to that song, and then copied they had letters over the words. I had no idea what those meant. Those were the chord changes, so I copied those down too. And then they had these little boxes with grids and dots all over the place. I didn't know what those were, but I copied those down too. I thought they might come in handy someday. Well, I finally did get into the guitar a little bit. Let's see, I've been playing this thing, bent over this thing since 1977. And this is still one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. You help me sing it. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young girls gone? They've taken husbands, everyone, sing it out. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Taking husbands, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young men gone? They're all in uniform. Where have all the young men gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young men gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young men gone? They're all in uniform. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards. Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? And where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flowers, everyone. The cycle is complete. And this time we sing, when will we ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flowers, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? So long, Pete. I hope we have time for a few more before we go out and have coffee and cookies. Chit chat. And I'm lucky enough to get to meet Pete Seeger on a handful of occasions, and lucky enough to be able to sing with him a few times too. And I learned from his wife Toshi the secret to getting a letter into Pete is you put the stamp upside down, and And that's the signal that opened this one first. So we exchanged letters a few times too. And one time, our group of friends and I got to sing with Pete in Chicago. And he played this song during his part of the program, and I really loved it. And I asked if he would show it to me after the concert. And he said, of course. He was that generous with his time. And after the concert, we went back into the little dressing room back there, and he had a guitar very much like this one, a 12-string guitar. And we sat almost knee to knee, and I had my regular guitar. And it was the most interesting music lesson because he didn't explain anything. In fact, I don't even remember him saying a word. He just began playing the melody so I could hear it. When he began to sing, I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, soon, mama, my whole world, soon we're gonna get mixed up, soon we're gonna get mixed up. And Pete said to me, you don't seem very enthusiastic to want to learn this, you haven't made a sound. And I didn't know what to say or what to do. And Pete said, well, I know it's a little hard to learn, but if you get this much, I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, get that much and you'll get the whole thing. And then he said, I promise. You try it too. I think that this whole world, I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, soon, mama, my whole world, soon we're gonna get mixed up. I don't think I did as well as you. Let's try it again. Hey, I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, soon, mama, my whole world, soon we're gonna get mixed up, soon we're gonna get mixed up. Pete, yes? What in the world does that mean? I just shrugged his shoulders and sang the first verse. You know this language that we speak is part German and Latin and part Greek, Celtic and Arabic, all in the heat. Changed around by his folks in the street. Choctaw gave us the word, okay, man. This is a word from down in Mexico way. All of this is a hint, I suspect, of what comes next. Here we go now. And I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, soon, mama, my whole world, soon we're gonna get mixed up, soon we're gonna get mixed up. Our language is mixed up. How about our food? I like Polish sausage, I like Spanish rice, and pizza pie is also nice. Corn and beans from the Indians here, coffee beans from the Turkish there. Marco Polo traveled by camel and pony and brought home to Italy the first macaroni. You and I, as well as we're able, we put it all on the table. Oh, I think that this whole world, soon, mama, my whole wide world, soon, mama, my whole world, soon we're gonna get mixed up. Our language is mixed up, our food is mixed up. Guess what? So are our people. There were no red-headed Irishmen before the Vikings landed in Ireland. How many Romans had curly black hair before they brought slaves from Africa? No race on earth is completely pure, nor is anyone's mind. That's for sure. The winds mix the dust of every land. played a 12-string guitar very much like this one. And those of you, some of you can probably hear this instrument is tuned much, much lower than my other guitar. And I asked Pete about the first time he heard a 12-string guitar tuned so low and played in that style. And he told me a long, long story about a guy named, a great American artist, had a funny name, Hughie Ledbetter, but everybody knew him as the Great Leadbelly. And this is one of the last of Leadbelly's great songs. Like Pete and Woody Guthrie, he was making up songs all the time. Many of them never even got written down. And Leadbelly was known to read the newspaper and come up with 3 songs on the days advance. He was that prolific. But this one lasted a long time. It's still relevant today. And I grew up in Louisiana, spent time in prison there and in Texas. Finally came north and married a woman named Martha Promise. And she really straightened him out a little bit and forced him to concentrate more on his music. And so one day, Martha and Judy got a letter from the Library of Congress inviting them to take the train down to Washington, D.C. to record their music in the Library of Congress. And as it turned out, Judy and Martha were the only African Americans in the group of people that went down, and they weren't allowed to stay at the same hotel. And I learned that story from Leadbelly's own niece, a woman named Tiny Robinson, who passed away a few years ago, age 94. And Tiny Robinson used the word crestfallen. Uncle Hughie and Aunt Martha were crestfallen, so disappointed they couldn't stay at the same hotel with their friends. And one of those friends tried to cheer them up and said, "Oh, Hughie and Martha, don't worry about any of this. Washington is just a bourgeois town." And Tiny Robinson said to me, "I'm pretty sure Uncle Hughie did not know what the word bourgeois meant, but I'm very sure he loved the sound of that word. He wouldn't stop repeating it over and over, day after day. He'd say things like, I wake up in the bourgeois morning, put on my bourgeois clothes, go into the bourgeois kitchen, get my bourgeois breakfast. Pretty soon I'll get out my bourgeois guitar, I'll play you the bourgeois blues." Listen to me, don't try to find a home in Washington, D.C. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. I got the bourgeois blues, spread the news all around. Well, me and my wife Martha, standing upstairs, heard a white man holler up, no one will call her up there. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. I got the bourgeois blues, spread the news all around. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. I got the bourgeois blues, spread the news all around. Thank you. I hope we have time for a quick one. Close off our program, and thank you to Janet and the great staff here at Rolling Meadows Public Library. tech crew recording today you can watch it again. And you can send me an email and let me know where I messed up. I probably will have already done that by the time I hear from you. Thanks for a wonderful afternoon. If you'd like to take some music home, I have CDs and my little book is back in print. Everything is just $10. And if you want to join my mail list, you can write your name and email in my little book, and I'll send you a reminder the next time I come to your part of the world. Thanks again for listening. There's nothing like singing with an old friend, a song we've known since way back when. The good times and the hard times, my old friend. I wish our time together would never end. And here's to you and me and what might have been. Here's to guys like us, old friends. Old friends are the best friends, old friends. And there's nothing like picking with an old friend, a good guitar and a tune to make us grin. On the back porch at Granny's, my old friend, how I wish our time together would never end. And here's to you and me and what might have been. Here's to guys like us, old friends. Old friends are the best friends, old friends. And there's nothing like being with an old friend, just a passing time together now and then. Saying nothing says something to an old friend. It's been so good to be with you again. And here's to you and me and what might have been. Here's to folks like us, old friends. Old friends are the best friends, old friends. Here's to you and me and what might have been. Here's to songs like ours that never end. Old friends are the best friends, old friends. Old friends are the best friends. Thank you.